You were supposed to want this, not by accident, by design. Every part of this launch, the 8 variants, the 1 per person rule, the no online sales, the limited stores, was engineered to produce the exact chaos you just saw. It worked perfectly. It works every single time. And the watch companies will tell you, openly, that this is the point. On May 16, 2026, police were called to Swatch stores on 3 continents over a plastic watch. This is how manufactured scarcity works. We're going to break down every dollar of it and answer the only question that actually matters. Is the watch worth it? The material. The Royal Pop is a pocket watch, not a wristwatch. A small timepiece designed to hang on a lanyard or clip to a bag in 8 different color variants. It is made of a material Swatch calls bioceramic. Bioceramic is about 2/3 ceramic powder and 1/3 biosourced plastic, most of it derived from castor oil. The pigment is mixed directly into the material before molding, so the color goes all the way through. It is not painted on. This is the same material Swatch used for the Moon Swatch, its previous blockbuster collaboration with Omega. Inside the case goes a movement. For the Royal Pop, Swatch is using a hand-wound version of its System 51, a mechanical movement made of exactly 51 parts, assembled entirely by automated machine, with no human hands touching the assembly. The 51-part design is the whole reason a mechanical watch can be sold at this price. A traditional mechanical movement has hundreds of parts and requires skilled hand assembly. System 51 has 51 parts and requires none. For our Royal Pop, the raw materials, the bioceramic case, the System 51 movement, the lanyard, the box, the printed components, cost Swatch about $25. $25. Hold on to that number. By the end of this video, the same object will have a price tag that, depending on how you count, is somewhere between 15 and 40 times that. The assembly. The System 51 movement is assembled on a fully automated line. Swatch built this automation specifically so it could make mechanical watches at the scale and price of quartz ones. The line is the company's single biggest manufacturing advantage. It is also, as we'll see, the center of the entire scarcity argument. For our Royal Pop, the assembly, running the automated line, the quality control, the packaging, the internal logistics, adds about $20 per watch. So a fully finished Royal Pop, sitting in a box ready to ship, has cost Swatch about $45. That is the entire physical reality of the product. Everything from here on is not the watch, it is the story around the watch. The margin? Here is the number that explains why this collaboration exists at all. The Moon Swatch, the previous Swatch collaboration, with Omega, launched in 2022, generates an estimated gross margin of about 80%. That means for every dollar of revenue, roughly 80 cents is gross profit. 80% gross margin on a watch is extraordinary. For comparison, the Swatch Group's overall watch and jewelry operating margin in recent years has been in the low double digits or worse. The collaboration watches are not just successful products, they are the most profitable thing the company makes by a wide margin. For our Royal Pop, assuming it follows the Moon Swatch's economics, which Swatch has every reason to repeat, the Swatch Group's gross margin works out to roughly $90 per watch. That $90 is the answer to why did this happen? A company with thin margins on most of its products discovered a formula that produces 80% margins. The formula is not the watch. The formula is the scarcity. That is the next phase. The scarcity engine. This is the part the channel exists to explain. The Royal Pop launch used a specific documented set of techniques. None of them are secret. All of them have been used before. 1. No online sales. The watch is not available on the internet by stated company intention. You have to physically go to a store. 2. Limited stores. The Moon Swatch launched in only about 110 Swatch boutiques worldwide in fewer than 70 cities. The Royal Pop used the same model, like a selection of stores, not all of them. 3. 1 per person per store per day. You cannot buy in bulk. This guarantees lines because 1 buyer equals 1 watch. 4. 8 variants. People do not want 1 watch. They want the set or they want the specific one, which means more visits, more lines, more demand pressure. 5. The teaser campaign. The collaboration was announced just days before launch, with deliberately incomplete information, generating what one industry publication called speculation itself becoming the campaign. Each of these decisions on its own looks like a logistics choice. Together, they are a machine for producing exactly one outcome: visible, photographable, news-generating scarcity. The lines are not a side effect. The lines are the advertisement. Every person filming a chaotic swatch queue and posting it is doing the marketing the 80% margin pays for. For our Royal Pop, the cost of staging this, the in-store theater, the security, the controlled rollout, the deliberately constrained distribution, adds about $40 per watch in real operational cost. Now, there is a real counter-argument here, and the channel is going to give it to you straight. Some people in the watch industry, including people who toured the Moonswatch production line, argue that the scarcity is not fully engineered. They argue that the automated line genuinely cannot scale fast enough, that doubling production capacity costs enormous money and time, and that the shortage is at least partly real, not theater. Both things can be true. The production limit can be real, and the company can choose not to spend the money to remove it, because the scarcity is more profitable than the supply. That is the most honest version of this story. Swatch is not necessarily lying about the constraint. Swatch is choosing to keep it. Those are different things, and the difference is the whole episode. The donation. Here is the twist that genuinely does not fit the cynical story. Audemars Piguet, the luxury half of this collaboration, the company whose Royal Oak design this is donating 100% of its proceeds. Audemars Piguet stated that it will use all of its proceeds from the Royal Pop to fund an initiative supporting the preservation and transmission of watchmaking skills, specifically rare hand skills and training for the next generation of watchmakers. This is the part that makes the simple "it's all greed" reading fall apart. For our Royal Pop, AP's share, roughly $25 per watch, does not go to AP's bottom line. It goes to a training fund. So why would AP do this? Two reasons, and both are real. The first is genuine. The hand skills of traditional watchmaking are disappearing, and a company like AP has an actual institutional interest in keeping them alive. The second is strategic. AP has never licensed the Royal Oak silhouette outside its own walls in the watch's 54-year history. Doing it now, for the first time, with a charitable frame, lets AP reach millions of younger people who will never afford a $30,000 Royal Oak, without cheapening the brand because the proceeds are donated, not pocketed. It is generosity and marketing at the same time. On this channel, we've learned those are usually the same phase. The resale, the real punch. Everything we've counted so far, the materials, the assembly, the margin, the scarcity engine, the donation, adds up to about $200. If you could walk into a store and buy a Royal Pop at the official retail price, you would pay something in the range of a few $100s. Swatch has not officially confirmed the exact figure, so treat the $420 number this episode uses as an estimate based on the Moonswatch's pricing and the Royal Pop's premium positioning. But here is the thing. Most people will not get to buy it at retail. That is the entire point of Phase 4. When you manufacture scarcity successfully, the official price is almost theoretical. The price most people actually pay is the resale price. After the Moonswatch launched at $260, resale prices surged well above retail, in some cases multiples of it. The Royal Pop, with a more exclusive partner and the same scarcity machine, is structurally designed to do the same thing. The gap between the $200 cost and margin stack and what a determined buyer actually pays on the secondary market, that gap, often $140 or far more, does not go to Swatch. It does not go to AP. It goes to whoever stood in the line. This is the strangest economic outcome of manufactured scarcity. The company engineers the shortage. The company captures the 80% margin. And then it manufactures a second, entirely separate economy on top of its own product, the resale market, where the people who waited in the chaotic line capture value the brand deliberately left on the table because the chaos was worth more to the brand as advertising than the markup would have been as revenue. So, there it is. The watch is on the bag, around $420, and though nobody outside Swatch knows the exact retail figure, and most people paid more than that anyway, $25 of material, $20 of assembly, $90 of swatch margin, $40 of staged scarcity, $25 to Audemars Piguet, which gave it all away, and a resale premium on top that the brands deliberately chose not to capture. The watch cost $45 to physically make. Everything above that is the story, and in this case, the story is the most sophisticated version of the story this channel has ever taken apart. Most of the products we cover hide their markup. This one puts the markup in a velvet rope, behind a security guard, in front of a crowd, on the news on purpose. Nobody in this story is a villain. The materials are honest. The movement is genuinely clever. AP genuinely gave its money away. The people in line genuinely wanted the watch, and Swatch genuinely built a machine that turns a $45 object into a global event twice a decade, legally in the open, while telling you exactly how it works. You were supposed to want it. Now you know precisely how much of that wanting was built for you, and exactly what each piece of it cost. That's the Royal Pop. See you next time.